Picture this, a cheerleader's ponytail sliced off in a vicious prank. Her dreams shattered in front of a roaring crowd, until she unleashes a jaw-dropping roundhouse kick that sends the clippers flying and the bullies running. Welcome to an explosive, heart-pounding story that'll keep you glued to your seat. If you love epic comebacks and underdog victories, hit that subscribe button now and join our community of thrill seekers in the USA and UK. Don't miss a single pulse-racing moment. Let's dive in. The gymnasium roared with the electric buzz of anticipation, the air thick with the scent of popcorn and the rhythmic thump of sneakers on polished wood. It was the night of the Westbridge High homecoming game, and the bleachers overflowed with students, parents, and alumni, their faces painted in the school's fierce red and gold. At the center of it all was 17-year-old Kaylee Harper, the star cheerleader whose infectious smile and gravity-defying flips had made her the heart of the squad. Her long, glossy ponytail a cascade of chestnut waves that swung like a metronome with every stunt was her signature, a symbol of her confidence and the envy of many. But tonight, that ponytail would become the target of a cruel plot, one that would ignite a chain of events no one in Westbridge could have predicted. Kaylee stood on the sidelines, her pom-poms shimmering under the stadium lights as she led the crowd in a chant. Red and gold, let's be bold. Her best friend, Mia, a petite gymnast with a fiery streak, tossed her a water bottle during a break. "You're killing it out there," Mia said, her eyes sparkling with pride. Kaylee grinned, wiping sweat from her brow. "This is our night, Mia. Nothing's stopping us." But as she turned back to the crowd, she didn't notice the three figures lurking near the equipment room: Tristan, Blake, and Courtney, the school's notorious trio of troublemakers. Tristan, the ringleader, was a hulking football player who'd been benched for poor grades and blamed Kaylee for distracting the team with her cheer routines. Blake, his wiry sidekick, was a tech whiz with a knack for hacking and a grudge against anyone more popular than him. Courtney, a former cheerleader who'd been kicked off the squad for missing practices, harbored a venomous jealousy toward Kaylee, whose natural talent had eclipsed her own. The trio had spent weeks plotting their revenge, their resentment simmering like a pot ready to boil over. Courtney had been the mastermind, her voice dripping with malice as she'd pitched the idea in Tristan's basement 2 weeks earlier. "Kaylee thinks she's untouchable with that perfect ponytail," she'd sneered, twirling a pair of electric clippers she'd stolen from her dad's barbershop. "Let's humiliate her in front of everyone. We cut it off during the halftime. She'll live no escape." Blake had grinned, his fingers flying over his laptop as he hacked into the gym's sound system to ensure their prank would have maximum impact. "I can loop the crowd noise to cover the clippers," he said. "She won't know what hit her." Tristan, flexing his meaty fists, had nodded. "And I'll make sure no one interferes." Kaylee's going down. Back in the gym. The first quarter of the game was winding down, and Kaylee was oblivious to the storm brewing. She was too focused on perfecting the squad's new pyramid stunt, a daring move that would launch her into a double backflip at halftime. As the buzzer sounded, signaling a timeout, she jogged to the locker room to grab her hair tie, which had slipped during a high kick. The hallway was dimly lit, and she didn't see Blake slip in behind her, his phone in hand, live streaming her every move to a private group chat where Tristan and Courtney watched eagerly. "She's alone," Blake whispered into his earpiece. "Now's our chance." But just as he reached for the clippers hidden in his backpack, Mia appeared at the other end of the hall, her eyes narrowing. "Kaylee, you good?" she called out. Blake froze, then slunk back into the shadows, cursing under his breath. The plan would have to wait for halftime. As the game resumed, the tension in the gym was palpable. Westbridge was trailing by 3 points, and the crowd's energy was a mix of hope and nerves. Kaylee threw herself into her routines, her ponytail whipping through the air as she executed flawless cartwheels and splits. But her mind was starting to wander. She'd noticed Courtney's icy glares from the bleachers all week and had overheard Blake muttering about teaching her a lesson in the cafeteria. She'd brushed it off as petty jealousy, but now a nagging unease settled in her chest. Focus, Kaylee, she told herself, shaking it off as she joined the squad for a pre-halftime huddle. The cheer coach, Ms. Rivera, a former Olympian with a no-nonsense attitude, clapped her hands. "This is your moment, girls. Kaylee, that pyramid is going to blow their minds. Let's do this." Unbeknownst to Kaylee, the trio's plan was already in motion. Blake had rigged the gym's speakers to play a distorted cheer track at the exact moment Courtney would strike, masking the buzz of the Clippers. Tristan had positioned himself near the sidelines, ready to block any interference from Mia or the other cheerleaders. Courtney, dressed in a hooded jacket to blend in, clutched the Clippers in her bag, her heart pounding with a mix of nerves and glee. "This is for every time she made me look bad," she muttered, her eyes locked on Kaylee's ponytail as the squad took the court for the halftime show. The gym erupted in cheers as the cheerleaders launched into their routine. A high-energy mix of flips, lifts, and synchronized kicks. Kaylee was at the top of her game, her smile radiant as she soared through the air in a perfect split jump. The crowd chanted her name, and for a moment, she felt invincible. But as the music swelled and the squad prepared for the pyramid, Courtney made her move. She slipped onto the court, weaving through the chaos of the routine, her hood pulled low. Blake hit a button on his phone, and the speakers blared a distorted loop of crowd noise, drowning out everything else. Tristan shoved a distracted Mia out of the way, pretending to adjust the water cooler. Courtney was inches from Kaylee now, the clippers buzzing in her hand as she raised them toward that perfect ponytail. Time seemed to slow as Kaylee, perched at the top of the pyramid, caught a glint of metal in her peripheral vision. Her instincts kicked in. Years of martial arts training from her dad, a former Marine, flashed through her mind. Without thinking, she twisted her body midair, her legs snapping out in a lightning-fast roundhouse kick. The clippers flew from Courtney's hand, skittering across the gym floor. With a metallic clatter, the crowd gasped, then roared, thinking it was part of the stunt. Courtney stumbled back, her hood falling to reveal her shocked face. Kaylee landed gracefully, her eyes blazing with fury as she realized what had just happened. "You tried to." "What?" she shouted, her voice cutting through the noise. The gym descended into chaos. Mia, who'd seen the whole thing, sprinted toward Courtney, grabbing her arm before she could flee. Blake, panicking, tried to shut down the livestream, but it was too late. The prank was already going viral on the school's group chat. Tristan, caught off guard by Kaylee's kick, hesitated, then bolted for the exit, only to be intercepted by Ms. Rivera, who'd been watching from the sidelines. "Not so fast," she growled, her grip like iron. The cheerleaders, still in formation, stared in stunned silence as Kaylee marched toward Courtney, her ponytail swinging defiantly. "You thought you could break me?" Kaylee said, her voice low but fierce. "You're about to learn how wrong you were." But the story didn't end there. What no one in the gym knew was that Kaylee had been hiding a secret of her own, one that would turn this prank into a battle bigger than Westbridge High. For months, she'd been training in secret with her dad's old martial arts mentor, Sensei Nakamura, preparing for a national tournament she hadn't told anyone about. Not even Mia. The tournament was her ticket to a college scholarship, a way out of Westbridge's small-town limits. But Sensei Nakamura had warned her, "Your strength must come from within, not from anger. Bullies will test you, but you must rise above." Now, faced with Courtney's betrayal, Kaylee felt that lesson burning in her chest. She could destroy Courtney with words, or worse, but would that make her any better than her bullies? As security dragged Courtney, Blake, and Tristan to the principal's office, Kaylee's mind raced. The livestream had exposed their plot, but it had also revealed something else. A cryptic message Blake had sent in the group chat, hinting at a larger scheme. This was just a warm-up. The message read, "Wait till prom." Kaylee's stomach twisted. Prom was 3 weeks away, and if these three were planning something even bigger, she couldn't let it slide. She turned to Mia, who was already pulling up the live stream on her phone. "We need to figure out what they're up to," Kaylee said. "This isn't over." Over the next few days, Westbridge High was a pressure cooker of gossip and tension. Courtney, Blake, and Tristan were suspended, but their absence only fueled the rumors. Kaylee, meanwhile, became an overnight hero. Her roundhouse kick replayed endlessly on social media with hashtags like #PonytailPower and #CheerleaderChop, but the attention weighed on her. She wanted to focus on her training, not fend off reporters or curious classmates. Mia, ever loyal, took charge, digging into Blake's hacked files with the help of her cousin, a computer science major at UCLA. What they found was chilling. The trio had been working with an outside contact, someone calling themselves the Shadow, who'd supplied them with hacking tools and promised a spectacle at prom that would bring Westbridge to its knees. Kaylee's first instinct was to confront the principal, but Mia stopped her. If this Shadow guy is real, they've got connections. We need proof before we go to anyone. Kaylee nodded, her jaw set. She'd spent years perfecting her cheer routines, but now she was channeling that discipline into something new, a mission to protect her school. She and Mia became an unlikely detective duo, sneaking into the computer lab after hours to trace the Shadow's IP address and staking out the equipment room where Blake had stashed his gear. Along the way, they recruited Kyle, a quiet senior who'd been bullied by Tristan for years but had a knack for reading people. "I saw Blake meeting someone behind the bleachers last month," Kyle admitted. "A guy in a black van, maybe 30s, sketchy vibe. I didn't say anything because, well, who'd believe me?" Kaylee squeezed his shoulder. "We believe you now." As prom night loomed, Kaylee's double life grew more complicated. By day, she was still the cheerleader, leading practices and dodging paparazzi. By night, she trained with Sensei Nakamura, her kicks and punches fueled by a mix of determination and resolve. But the sensei noticed the shadows under her eyes. "You're carrying too much, Kaylee," he said during a late-night session. "Anger is a spark, but purpose is the flame." "What is your purpose?" Kaylee hesitated, then said, "To stop them. To show everyone that bullies don't win." Nakamura nodded, but his expression was unreadable. "Then you must be prepared to lose everything to gain what matters." The week before prom, the trio's suspension ended, and Courtney, Blake, and Tristan returned to school, their heads down but their eyes glinting with defiance. Kaylee watched them closely, noticing how they avoided each other in the halls, as if they were distancing themselves from the failed prank. But Mia's cousin uncovered a hidden partition on Blake's laptop, revealing a blueprint for their next move, a plan to hack the prom's lighting and projection systems, projecting humiliating deepfake videos of Kaylee and other students on a massive screen during the crowning of the prom queen. The Shadow had provided the tech, and the trio was just the muscle. "This isn't just about me," Kaylee realized, her voice tight. "They're trying to ruin everyone." With only 48 hours until prom, Kaylee, Mia, and Kyle hatched a counterplan. They couldn't stop the hack without risking exposure to the Shadow, so they decided to beat the bullies at their own game. Mia and Kyle worked feverishly to rewrite Blake's code, embedding a failsafe that would redirect the deepfake feed to a video of their own, one that would expose the trio's plot to the entire school. Kaylee, meanwhile, focused on the physical threat. She knew Tristan and would be guarding the projector room, and she wasn't about to let them intimidate her. She spent her final training session with Sensei Nakamura perfecting a new move, a spinning crescent kick that could disarm multiple opponents at once. "You are not just fighting for yourself," Nakamura said, his voice like steel. "You are fighting for those who cannot fight." Prom night arrived, and Westbridge High's gymnasium was a sea of tuxedos and gowns and twinkling lights. Kaylee, stunning in a crimson dress that matched her fiery spirit, walked in with Mia and Kyle, her ponytail flowing defiantly. The trio was there to Courtney in a sequined dress, Blake fidgeting with his phone, and Tristan looming near the DJ booth. The air crackled with anticipation, but Kaylee felt a strange calm. She'd been preparing for this moment, not just for weeks, but for years, through every doubt, every challenge, every time she'd risen above. As the prom queen announcement neared, Blake slipped into the projector room, his fingers poised over the keyboard. Courtney and Tristan stood guard outside, their smirks barely concealed. But they didn't notice Mia and Kyle sneaking in through a side vent, their own laptop ready to override the hack. Kaylee, meanwhile, took her place on the dance floor, her eyes locked on the projector screen. The lights dimmed, and the crowd hushed as the prom queen video began to play. For a moment, a distorted image of Kaylee flickered on the screen, and gasps rippled through the room. But then the feed cut to Mia's video. Asterisk. The screen lit up with footage from the halftime show, showing Courtney's Clipper attack and interference. Text overlays detailed their plot, including screenshots of Blake's messages with the shadow. The crowd erupted in boos, and Courtney's face crumpled as she realized they'd been outplayed. Tristan lunged for the projector room, but Kaylee was ready. She sprinted across the dance floor, her dress billowing, and met him at the door with a spinning crescent kick that sent him staggering. Blake, caught off guard, tried to flee, but Kyle tackled him, pinning him until security arrived. Courtney, abandoned by her accomplices, sank to her knees, sobbing as the crowd chanted Kaylee's name. Asterisk. The principal, Miss Thompson, took the stage, her voice trembling with anger and pride. Tonight, we've seen the worst of our school and the best. Kaylee Harper, please come up here. As Kaylee stepped into the spotlight, the crowd roared, and Mia slipped the prom queen crown onto her head. But Kaylee's smile was bittersweet. She'd won, but at what cost? The shadow was still out there, and she knew this was only the beginning. Asterisk. In the weeks that followed, Westbridge High changed. Kaylee's story inspired a wave of anti-bullying initiatives, and she became a reluctant spokesperson, sharing her journey at assemblies and online. Mia and Kyle joined her, their friendship stronger than ever. The trio faced expulsion and legal charges, but the shadow remained a mystery, their trail going cold after the prom hack. Kaylee, however, didn't stop training. She won her scholarship at the National Martial Arts Tournament, dedicating her victory to Sensei Nakamura and her dad, who'd always believed in her. Asterisk. One night, as she practiced her kicks under the stadium lights, Kaylee's phone buzzed with an anonymous message. You won the battle, but the war's not over. See you soon. She stared at the screen, her ponytail swaying in the breeze. Bring it on, she whispered, her voice steady as steel. The story of Kaylee Harper was far from over. It was just getting started. That's the explosive story of Kaylee Harper's epic comeback. Have you faced bullies in your life? Drop your story in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Want us to share your story? Just ask in the comments, and we'll publish it for free. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell for more heart-pounding stories every week. Let's keep the energy high and the bullies running.